Hello, and welcome to Women in Retail Talks, the podcast where C-suite executive women in the retail space share their stories of professional growth, leadership development, personal journeys, and more. I'm Melissa Campanelli, the co-founder of Women in Retail Leadership Circle, a membership-based community of executive women at leading retailers and brands. Joining me today is Beth Gerstein, co-founder and CEO of Brilliant Earth, a socially responsible diamond jewelry company. She was also featured as one of our top women in retail in 2022. In today's episode, we'll hear all about Beth's career journey, why she founded Brilliant Earth, her leadership style, and what she's most looking forward to as we round out 2022. Thanks so much for joining us today, Beth.
Thanks, Melissa. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of your company and yours, and I know we met a few years ago when you spoke at one of our events in San Francisco, so it's great to reconnect.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to jump in. I know our group is probably really interested to hear a little bit about your career journey. So why don't we start there and sort of why you started Brilliant Earth?
So originally I was an electrical engineer. So I used to do satellite communications. So pretty far from retail. And I knew that I wanted to have a positive impact on the world and that I wanted to create my own company. So I ended up going to business school, and that's where I met my co-founder. He was actually doing a business plan around creating an ethical segment within jewelry, which made a lot of sense because there's a lot of social and environmental issues behind the diamond mining industry, and it's such an emotional purchase. So it was just such an important, I think, discovery to find out that there's a consumer that really cares about where their diamond comes from. And he was talking to me about his approach, which was also thinking about how do we reinvent this very old category. And for me, it was something that immediately resonated because it was so important for me to buy a diamond ring that was consistent with my values. And I just had such a hard time whenever I would visit different jewelry stores. It just was a very opaque process. So anyways, we decided that we would bootstrap the company. We started Brilliant Earth out of my apartment in 2003. So, a number of years ago now. I'm sorry, 2005, excuse me. And, from there, we've just been growing the business steadily every year.
That is so exciting. And I mean, today, as we know, Brilliant Earth is, you guys are like an unmitigated success. You're a publicly traded company. You're well known in the jewelry industry. I mean, what are some of your secrets to success?
I think that, I wish there was a magic bullet. At the end of the day, I think that there's a lot of hard work and just perseverance as kind of the number one trait for any entrepreneur. I think people and culture are critical, and aligning on what's really important for you to succeed as a company. Like there were, I think, a few aspects. We're very data driven. We're capital efficient. So we're very asset light, which helped us. We didn't have to raise a lot of money. A lot of our inventories make to order. So a lot of those were, I think, very important. We're very brand centric. So from the beginning, we were thinking about what is the customer looking for? How do we provide that experience? So it's about prioritizing, I think, and having the right team to deliver on, specific vision. And I think the mission for us was critical. We're mission minded, we're a purpose driven company. The whole team aligns around sustainability and transparency and inclusivity. And it's important for our customers, it's important for our team. And, I think it's been critical to our success.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. And that is so important, this transparency. A lot of that stuff comes up with a lot of leaders that we interview, how important that is. So let's talk a little bit more about you as a leader. I mean, you kind of just did, but how would you describe your leadership style? And I would love to know how it's changed, if it has, since Brilliant Earth became a public company.
I would say going public for us, we went public last September, which was really exciting. Was more of an evolution of the company than a revolution. I think that's just because we've run the company in a pretty disciplined way. We've, always targeted profitable growth. That's always been important to us. And I think that as a public company, like that's even more important, and delivering on what you said you were going to do is critical. So having a key initiatives that you're aiming for and really working towards that. So all of that, I think, was part of the inherent DNA of the company. So I wouldn't say a ton has changed there. Certainly we're spending more time just cultivating our investor base, which I think is great, just to get our word out. I think, we are the premier brand for Millennial and Gen Z, but a lot of investors are a little bit older than that. So it's just education in terms of who we are. In terms of leadership style, just kind of going back to your earlier question, I think it's really about alignment with our culture. So for me, it's about creating a high accountability, high ownership organization where there's a strong commitment to our mission, a strong commitment to our customer. We're very data-driven, so there's a bias toward action. There's a culture of testing and learning. And so for me, it's about encouraging my leaders to be able to, make all of the decisions and in the spirit of the vision of the company. So having that alignment, I think, is really key. And then partnership and positivity is incredibly important for our company. There's a lot of complexities around our supply chain, around how we think about the experience. And so making sure that there's alignment there and that everyone is really coming to the table with their best self, that's really important.
Wow, it sounds like you have a great culture. But how do you hire for, or what do you look for when hiring a team member? I'm sure you have a great team and they're growing and they're great leaders, but are there certain things that you look for just to make sure that they are going to be the right fit, or they're going to work well in your culture?
Well, we always think about culture adds, and diversity and inclusion is a really important aspect of the company. So we're thinking about how everyone can just be able to contribute to the growth and success of our company. We want to make sure that there's alignment with those other goals that I was talking about as it relates to partnership and positivity. We don't want to hire people who are going to be challenging to work with, and quite the contrary. We want people who you're going to love coming to work with every day. And actually, one of the top things that our team says, their favorite thing is the team. And so that to me is true success. Because we spend so much of our time at work, I want to make sure that everyone is really excited about the people that they're working with. We want to make sure people are ambitious. We are very ambitious as a company in terms of accomplishing our goals. And so making sure people are excited to learn, that to me is crucial. Embracing growth and change is another one of our pillars. So it's important for people to be excited by that dynamic environment. Not everyone is, so screening for that is really important.
Definitely. I love the culture of testing and learning and not being afraid to fail. If you make a mistake, it's more important to be curious and try new things. I think that is really important. So let's switch gears a little bit. We speak to our members a lot, and well-being and mental health is such an important topic right now for a lot of folks. I mean, it's important for our leaders, it's important for their employees. So can you talk a little bit about what you do to make sure that your employees are feeling healthy and safe? And then maybe what you do as a leader to stay mentally and physically, balanced?
I completely agree. This is of critical importance, especially, a lot of our team members are earlier in their career, and it's been a challenging several years. And so prioritizing mental health, well-being is, I think, essential. And our HR team has really been laser focused. We actually have a branded program around it, like a true retailer. We've created a brand around it. And it just, I think, emphasizes some of the offerings that we have to our employee base. So we do regular 15-minute physical workouts, for example, that everyone can join via Zoom. We do guest speakers that talk on different types of topics as it relates to community or body or mind or life. So all of those are kind of different ways that we approach employee well-being. We provide employee assistance. We work with a program called Ginger to make sure that there's 24/7 counseling support. So it's really, I think, about providing additional support when our employees need it, and then making sure that we're constantly doing pulse checks with our team to make sure that they're having a great experience. For me personally, I would say I have a pretty structured schedule, which helps me a lot. So, I have a structured time in the morning to run, to walk my dog. I love taking my kids to school. It's just my time to connect with them. And so I just make sure to prioritize some of those aspects in my schedule, try and get the right sleep. All of that to me is how do you create a real schedule where that you're able to fit in what's most important?
definitely. Having a schedule that you could follow, I'm sure it's helpful with how busy you must be. Could you talk a little bit more about the branded program that you have? Does it have a name, and is it something that the employees like subscribe to, or?
It's called Be Brilliant, Be Well. So be like Brilliant Earth. And we're regularly sending newsletters. We're regularly engaging our employee base. We do competitions, and things like visiting national parks, encouraging volunteer hours. So we're just really trying to encourage a community and a support system for our team.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm going to skip ahead to mentorship. Mentorship is another huge issue for our listeners and our members. Can you talk a little bit about a mentor that you've had and how he or she helped you? And then also, do you do any mentoring now?
So I would say that my approach and what's worked for me personally is to depend on a network of people versus any one particular person. I mean, certainly I think in my career, I've had like previous managers that have really supported me and helped guide me in my career. But even, having gone to business school, like there were so many amazing women in my class, and I'm still talking to them and discussing, some of the issues that I have, and just having, I think, different people for different problems has been really helpful. Like we have a really great board at my company. And so I'm able to, I think, use our board members really strategically. And that's been very helpful for me personally as well. So it's about kind of pulling different people where I can. And I would just say the same, like I'm always available. Like I'm regularly talking to different people and wanting to support females in whatever they're trying to pursue. And I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities now, and I think that there's a lot to support. So that's more my approach versus like having a more, I think, structured mentorship, which to me, like sometimes it's more effective than others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hear that a lot. It's nothing formal, but it's just having someone you can call if you have an issue or a problem, and working through it with them, and then also being able to help, as you said, others. I mean, that is exciting. I think as a female, that you're able to help maybe lift other women and help them grow in their careers. So that's kind of what we're hearing as well. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. We only have time for one more question. So what are you looking forward to most as the year rolls to the end? I mean, personally and professionally.
I think one of the things that's exciting is we're kind of in a new phase of living for everybody. So, this summer I was finally able to travel internationally with my kids and my family. And I just feel like everything's kind of opening up. There's so much more like in-person gathering, like just some of, I think, the heaviness of the past few years is cleared. And that's, I think, amazing. Like, I love the idea of being able to travel more, whether it's professionally or personally, like going into the office, seeing our team, all of that just feels like we're in a different phase. And it's really energizing to me personally.
Definitely. Well, I think that's probably all we have time for today, Beth, but it was so great to catch up with you again. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your ideas. And we're so thrilled that you joined us on the podcast today. So have a great rest of the day and hope to see you soon.
Thanks so much, Melissa. It's been great being here.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please go to womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review our show. Lastly, if you're a female retail leader interested in joining our community at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, visit womeninretail.com/apply. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.